to episode 167, we said? Okay, 67 of Anime and Us. I'm TJ.
I'm Shawn.
And this is a review show that reviews anime from A to Z, sort of.
Alright guys, so we are doing Outlaw Star this week for Category O. Outlaw Star. Starward Warrior Knight Outlaw Star. Okay. Japanese anime, blah blah blah, produced by Sunrise and Seinen Manga. It came out, the manga was 96 to 99. The anime was 98 January to June 98. 26 episodes.
Yes, it was.
Space opera. Ooh.
I mean, it technically was.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yep. So, you know what we never did in the last episode? Premise.
Oh, yeah, I noticed. I actually mentioned, I was like, a little bit of premise, Brawley, like, lands and blah, blah, blah. Premise, it's a futuristic world where there's a couple different races and humanity is literally spread across the stars. Jean and Jim are, essentially, what's the word? Not bounty hunters.
Outlaws.
No, before then, they're like men for hire. They fix
mercenaries?
Kind of like a mercenary, but sometimes they'll be a bodyguard. Other times they're fixing a tractor. You know what I mean?
Trades.
Yeah, kind of like a jack of all trades. Like, call me and I'll fix whatever problem you got.
Yes. And
they're pretty much broke, but they got a little money.
Here and there.
Gene wants to be an outlaw starship.
Yes.
You know,
except
cruising
he's afraid
around.
Of space.
Except he's afraid of space. Jim's his sidekick, who's probably 12, maybe 11 or 10.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't know how they...
Gene's probably 19.
They never explain why those two are together, so...
Yeah, which is odd, right? You think they would.
I mean,
I'm assuming he was just an orphan and they paired up and they worked together well.
I guess. I mean, they did mention that Jim's the son of a famous hacker or some shit like that.
Mm.
So...
Well, to continue the premise, those are the two main characters. Most of the main characters, anyway. And then they come in contact with an android girl and a spaceship and a pirate. And then, you know, from there...
they go on an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. There's a little more overarching plot, but not much.
No. It's almost Cowboy Bebop-ish in its structure.
Yes, and it's equally iconic. Especially with the intro. Like, the intro... It's done very well.
I would actually argue the intro and the outro, both outros.
Yes. So, but the intro specifically for me is like, I don't know. I really like
actually, the outro is for me. That song's been stuck in my head for...
They change it up. There's a couple
different
ones.
I know. Both of them have been stuck in my head for the last 2 weeks.
All of them, though, is like, when we watched the first episode together, it was like, oh yeah, there's the nostalgia.
Yeah. I'm going to say this right off the bat. This is an underrated classic.
It is. It's also a little bit boring.
Yes, it is.
Which is kind of really upsetting. But when it's good, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's got pacing issues, I want to say. It's a little slow in spots. Mm-hmm. But like,
and it's episodic at times.
Yes. But that's, like I said, that's why it's Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Because Cowboy Bebop had the same problem.
It kind of fits because they're outlaws and they do... You know what I mean? Like, they do quote-unquote missions, not bounties, so to say, but sometimes they do bounty hunt. It's weird.
And the same thing with Cowboy Bebop, though, is that those filler episodes, technically not really filler, but like...
It gives context and character.
And it builds the universe and stuff like that. It's giving you background a lot of
Normally, I hate that. Here, I don't mind it so much.
And it's especially because of... There's so much unexplained in this world, and it's just like you need they have to give you a narration at the beginning of each episode just to catch you up.
I skipped almost all of them, but yes, you're supposed to watch them, and it's supposed to give you context for the world.
Yes,
for me, it's a little bit what's the word we
pretentious?
Use? Pretentious. It's a bit pretentious. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes they're just explaining things in the world. Other times they're like, a warrior acts like this, and it's like, oh, shut the up.
Sometimes, yeah. So it depends on which one. But the narrator is also Jet from Cowboy Bebop. That's why.
Yeah. Good voice.
I mean, we're doing a lot of comparisons to Bebop, but that's a good comparison in my opinion.
It's good for the time frame. It's good for the space setting. Mm-hmm. It's good for the action-y art style.
Right.
You know?
And it's a pretty solid, decent show without much fan service except for one episode.
I guess we're getting to it now. They got the hot spring episode. I didn't think it was going to happen because it was like episode 24 or 25.
It was the fourth one before the last story arc. It was like 3 episodes up in it. And it's actually important to the plot because that's where he gets the weapons he needs in order to
defeat everyone at the end. And it was well done, but that I think is the only actual nudity in the show is in that episode.
And there's nudity in it.
Yeah, mostly the guitar girl, Keisha?
Yeah, Aisha.
It's
something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It's funny we remember that it's the Kotaro and not her actual name, but
because she always says, "I'm a Kotaro."
But yeah, that's the only nudity in it. And that episode is it's a hot springs planet, by the way. It's just a complete joke episode.
But he had to get caster shells for his gun. He has a gun that can cast essentially spells, and they work against these K-Pirates?
K-Pirates, yes.
That are wizards, essentially, and they cast spells.
Yes.
So, like, they have shields made out of spells that regular ammunition and missiles don't work on.
And this Hot Springs Planet has the magicians that created these things.
There you go.
I don't know why they needed the Looney Tunes K-Pirate chasing them throughout the whole thing.
Oh, you gotta have the bad guys somewhere, right?
Well, that's just that on top of all the
McDougal brothers.
And everything, like, but up until this point, the K-Pirates were treated as serious threat, and now we got this goofy Donald Duck guy in this one episode.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you saw him in clips. In very short clips earlier on, but that was it.
And he was in the ship in the last episodes. Mm-hmm. He was the one that got stayed behind. Mm-hmm. So it was just a strange episode out of nowhere. It was just the first episode that popped into my mind. So, also, did you think there was something strange about? You remember the episode where they got caught by the military police?
Yeah.
And they're trapped in that asteroid? Mm-hmm. Did you find something weird about that episode? Did it feel different to you?
Why?
Because I think that's a spin-off episode into the Angel Links.
Oh, okay.
That
makes sense.
Crossover, because they actually say Angel Links in that episode.
Do they?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So I think that's supposed to be like a backdoor pilot into that spin-off series, and I think those characters might be that dinosaur guy and that head lady might be in that show.
We'll have to watch it.
I mean, it's in A, so... I mean, but we did check some of it when we first learned of it, and we were like, oh, this looks terrible. So
it does look terrible. We clicked on it for a moment right before we started this podcast, and I read just like the frame of it, and it was just bad.
But yeah. So it's interesting that the show has a spin-off and it might have a backdoor pilot, because anime usually doesn't do that so much.
Sometimes there's spin-offs. Sometimes. I've seen it a few times, but not normally within the series do you hear it mentioned. Usually it's afterwards, oh, let's write off on the success. Mm-hmm.
I usually see that in TV shows, at live-action American TV shows. They do that, but never in an anime. So, I don't know, it was an interesting note. So, you want to talk about the other characters?
There is a samurai woman, I forget her name. Suzuka, who is super strong and only uses a wooden stick. If she used a sword, she'd be f***ing unstoppable.
Right.
She is
an assassin. Who only assassinates
people at dusk.
Twilight Suzuka. Twilight Suzuka's her name.
I thought it was at sundown, though.
Isn't that Twilight?
I know her name's Twilight Suzuka, but I could have sworn she only kills people at sundown.
That's
not Twilight.
Yes, it is.
The witching hour is like...
That's midnight. Witching hour is midnight.
Twilight is sunset?
It's sunset.
I'm retarded, whatever.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
I don't think I'm wrong, but maybe I am. Anyway...
That's why she's called Twilight.
She is contracted to kill Fred Lowe, who's the gay entrepreneur that finances everything for Gene and Jim.
Yep.
And it was kind of funny, the episode with them, because Gene and Jim are there, and like the lead up to it is like, oh, we have to go to Fred's house. Like, I don't want to go there. And Gene's like, shut up, we gotta go. And he's like, but I don't want to do anything with him. And we're all like, what? And then they get to there, and he's like putting his hand on his shoulder. And it's funny. He's gay, clearly, and he wants to sleep with Gene. But he's the one that funds them and promises for payback at someday. That
very same episode, he leaves in the office, and one of Fred's henchmen says to him, you know, we only put up with you because he loves you. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, then it's like, up until that moment, it wasn't, you weren't 100% sure if he's just f***ing with him or not. And now it's like, oh, okay, no, he's actually gay.
But for someone who's in love with him, and does lend him a lot of money, but Gene's in debt to this guy for like...
Not yet, but by the end of the show, over $1 million.
Hundreds of millions.
I don't think it's hundreds of millions, because they always talk about a couple 100,000 here, a couple 100,000 there. Whenever sometimes they don't mention numbers at all. At least, just like, oh, it's a lot. It's at least $1 million.
It's at least millions, at the very least. Because they borrow a lot of money to keep up.
But to be fair, sometimes I feel like they don't actually owe the money back. So like, for instance, when Fred hired them for the martial arts competition to stop the girl from winning.
So he doesn't have to marry her? Yes.
Well, no, he didn't stop it, but it still got stopped and he took the job. Mm-hmm. And later on at the end of the episode, or in the next episode, Fred even said hey, remember I told you, I said if you take the job, I'll pay you. So here's the money. But like, he still owes it to him.
Right.
But he shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, he did that's that's payment.
He's a shrewd businessman.
Whatever.
He's a shrewd businessman. And he does let them off the hook, which for certain things.
He lets them off the hook all the time and keeps lending him money.
Yeah,
so.
and like he takes payment in like promotions and stuff like that. Won the space race and stuff like that.
Anyway, Suzuka then tries, after that first meeting, Suzuka tries to kill him, and Jean's there and stops her.
Yes.
And then the whole Goku effect, she's essentially their friend now.
Yeah, well, she was hired to kill Fred Lowe, and Jean stops her. And
by making her nude.
By making her nude.
By stealing her sword and then accidentally ripping her clothes off.
Right.
And then she's all blushy, oh no! And he's like, I'll make you a deal. You get your sword and clothes back if you stop going after Fred. And she's like, no, I can't. My honor. And then he's like, oh, deal anyway. And he throws her clothes and sword at her.
The deal is she has to try and go
after him first.
Yes, that's the deal. But that's the only time she shows any kind of weakness throughout the entire show.
Yeah, after that.
But that's only because we needed her as a character. We needed some way for Jean to win.
Well, Jean to win is fine that way. Whatever. But there's no reason for her to follow him along. It's not like she's every now and then she's like, all right, let's duel. And if I can win, I win.
Apparently she was just bored.
I think she likes Jean.
Maybe that too. Maybe she's never been defeated before, and she hasn't been actually.
Yeah.
So she finds him interesting, and plus he's also interested. He's chasing the K-Pirates, and she's after some K-Pirate that looks exactly like her that we never learn really much about.
Essentially from her dojo, I believe.
We find out her whole story in 5 minutes in the last episode.
She whips out a couple new moves he hasn't seen yet, and she wins.
I remember then her saying she had like 3 special moves, and she showed them throughout the series, and that didn't happen. So I must have.
It might have happened. You could have zoned out.
No, I remember it specifically happening with her. Maybe I was thinking of something else, but it didn't happen, and I was like, oh, maybe I was wrong. I must have like implanted that.
Maybe.
I don't know. And then we got the
Katara.
Yeah, Aisha,
who's an anamorph, whatever they called it. She's essentially humanoid, but when according to the phases of the moon, determine how strong the transformation is. But she can essentially get really strong and eventually transform into like a tiger.
Yeah, she's a were-tiger.
Yeah.
And,
you only see her transform once, I think.
No, she transforms a couple times. She transforms in the martial arts tournament.
Yes.
And then she transforms in the maze at the end when she's fighting.
That's the end, though. So twice.
I mean, it was a few times throughout. And she's had a couple different forms. Like, she goes in between.
Yeah. She gets really muscly at times.
Yeah, so. And, I mean, she's honestly just comic relief, and she's not very good at it.
Not at all. But it was kind of funny when they went to enter into the female division for the martial arts tournament. And they're like, yeah, you're not allowed. And she's like, what? That's racist. Yeah, it kind of is.
She has her moments. She's also pretty funny in the hot spring episode.
When she gets naked.
When Jean keeps getting thrown into the hot springs.
That was actually kind of funny.
The hot springs over and over again, and Suzuka and Malfina throw him out, and then she lands in hers, and she's like, oh.
Yeah, and she starts like showing awful little to him. He falls into the hot spring that's essentially lava, and then runs off, and she's like, haha, that's all it took to get him all flustered.
Yeah, and then there's Malfina.
Oh, yeah, Malfina is the android. They didn't really explain that too much.
A bio-android.
So,
which is not the same as regular androids. I don't know what that
I think a bio-android is essentially what the androids in Dragon Ball Z are. Well, they're humans that have been cellularly enhanced.
It's funny. You would know this if you watched the prologues.
Yeah, probably.
Like, they did show, like, a scan of bio stuff. Like, there's, like, metal underneath the biological portions of it. So, you know.
Oh, there you go. But, she's connected to the ship, the XGP.
Yes. The Outlaw Star.
She was made and the ship was made to work together. And the ship has an AI, but she does something when she's in it.
Well, she is the AI. She's the navigator.
Sort of, no, because there is an AI separate.
You're right. But she's what makes the ship go, essentially. She's the navigator.
But like I don't understand is other ships go without her. You know what I mean? Like, there's the only one ship with her.
Right, because this ship was specifically designed for that.
Yes, but my point is, what does she do when other ships do the same thing?
this ship is built specifically with her as the focal point, as the thing to make things go, because she's got some kind of black box in her that lets her find the galactic ley line.
It doesn't make any sense.
The ship is purposely made to find the galactic ley line.
Yes, correct.
So
but what does she do to help the ship in battle and everything when you're not looking for the galactic ley line?
She's just purely, essentially the engine of it to make it go.
But we've seen it run without her in it.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we have.
Never.
I'm pretty sure.
No. That ship's never going if she's not in that test tube.
It'll suck if she dies first.
Yeah, then you're stuck. You're trapped.
Anyway.
That's why.
Anyway, my point though is like other ships are of the same caliber, like the McDougal ship, and they don't have a person in a liquid tube, and it goes just fine.
That's because they don't have the thing that has them be able to
But so what's the point of it?
To find the galactic ley line and to keep the ship going.
But why can't you have it separate? Like she can have a thing in there to help her find the galactic ley line, and you can also pilot the ship without her. That's so dumb.
So no one steals it.
Okay, you just steal her with it.
Well, but that's exactly what Gene did.
And what other people tried to do.
Yes, exactly. I don't know.
It's just dumb. It's dumb. It didn't need to happen.
It's a MacGuffin to have them have to keep buffing it.
That's all I needed.
And a way to get them to the galactic ley line.
And you know what's funny? For a show that had some nudity in it, not a lot, you'd think it would be her because she's naked in there half the time.
Yeah, never. No.
And when they do show her body risque-esque, you don't actually see. It's just outlines. You don't really see anything.
No. But yeah, she's actually naked throughout most of the show. Honestly, now.
Yeah, it's just covered, like she's covering her breast with her hands or whatever.
I mean, it's a navigation system. So,
all right. Anything else we want to talk about? Caster cells are pretty cool.
Yeah, that
was just cool, like iconic. It was cool.
It's cool, but like the magic and stuff, I don't think there was enough of it.
Yeah, there should have been a little bit more.
Like the show is long because it's 24 episodes, but it almost feels rushed.
At the end, it's very rushed.
Like, not even just at the end, but with what they were doing, like the magic stuff and everything else. Everything feels kind of rushed for some reason. And it's like, I don't know. I think the show could have benefited from an extra season or two.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, because...
If you fleshed out more of, like, the pirate hunting and... Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like... But it's because, like, something like Cowboy Bebop. I mean, I would like another season of Cowboy Bebop, but it had a perfect ending.
Yeah, you didn't need more.
You didn't need
any more.
But Outlaw Star could probably have used an extra season or two, because it's just, there's a lot of loose ends. Not like plot holes or anything, but just things that are just like hanging in the air, not fully developed and fleshed out.
That's fine.
I mean, we've been going on about the show for a while without any issues, so we clearly like this show.
It was enjoyable. The pacing was a little off, and that was my really only complaint.
Yeah, I mean, considering we were tackling this from a nostalgic point of view, it still held up.
It held up really well.
Considering.
I was watching it on Funimation, 480p, but the upscaling on my TV was decent. It looked good.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it on not our site, but the new site that I had found. And it had it in the best resolution, so it looked fine there.
Oh, cool.
I also own it on DVD, which I didn't watch.
That's probably 480p.
Yeah. So, I was like, I just didn't feel like putting it into the play.
It's kind of easier just to click play.
Yeah.
And pop discs in and out now.
Every it's once out. Yeah, it came to the laziness at this point.
Alright. Well, what do you rate it?
Huh. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think it's better than Cowboy Bebop. I think it's like on a level below Cowboy Bebop, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm around a 7.
I don't know what we gave Cowboy Bebop.
I think it was 8 or 9.
8 or 9? I think a 7's fair.
Yeah, I think this is definitely at 7, maybe 8 if we gave Bebop a 9.
You know, they're both really good, and I like both almost equally. But if I have to be as objective as I can, I think Outlaw Star or Cowboy Bebop's a little bit better.
Yeah, but like if you look at the pantheon of animes, this one's up there, but it's not going to be.
It's underrated though.
It's
That's
definitely
kind of
underrated.
issue, right?
But like when you think of the great Held in Steam animes, you think of Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, and stuff like that. This is not quite there. This is like on that tier right below with like something like A Wolf's Rain or something like that.
That's fair. All right, yeah, I think a 7's pretty solid. You want to talk about the next one?
All right, so category P, which is what Shawn likes to say.
Thank you. You finally said it.
Even though it's a letter, not a category. there is a lot in P,
There is. A lot of shit, too.
but we've gotten to the point in covering these animes that we've practically covered everything that I know. So there's, like, I don't, the only thing I recognized in this letter was Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, and of course there's stuff like Persona adaptation of 4 and 5. There's like a Power Stone adaptation.
You recognize the name.
Like well, I know what of the games that they're based off of. So, like, I could surmise what the stories are from them. You know what I mean? So, like, I didn't really know what I was looking at here. So I was going through and I was, like, looking at the shorter animes, like Pet Shop of Horrors was what I was leaning towards. But
Shop of Horrors is fun.
You said, what was it called?
Parasite the Maxim.
Parasite the Maxim is one of your favorite animes?
It's up there. I'd say top 10.
Well, if you recommended that highly, I can't really go against that.
You sure?
Yeah.
We could do anything.
No,
I don't want to be tipping the scales.
We'll just take. I literally don't know anything else, so it's like, what am I gonna? I would rather watch something that I know is good rather than a short bad anime.
I'm not saying it's a 10 out of 10.
Well, no,
but I think you'll rate it higher than 5.
Okay, so we'll go with Parasite the Maxim.
All right,
and then when it's bad, I can just complain how bad it is.
Like, you motherfucker, you made me decide.
Exactly. So in a way, I win.
Fair. Action, drama, horror, psychological, science fiction, seinen.
Hate that seinen tag, I tell you that much.
Yeah, but it doesn't have comedy.
That's true. And it doesn't say harem.
Yes. The 17-year-old Izumi Shinichi lives with his mother and father in a quiet neighborhood in Tokyo. One night, worm-like aliens called parasites invade Earth, and that's all I want to say because I actually want you to watch it.
Okay.
Because I clicked it and watched it without knowing what it was, and I was, like, pleasantly surprised.
Fair enough. Some animes you have to go in completely blind, so...
All right. Next episode, guys. Parasite.
No, next episode is probably going to be a movie because it's 24 episodes long. It's going to take me a couple weeks to get through it.
All right. So, Bio Brawly.
Yeah, it's going to be Bio
Then
Brawly.
Parasite. See you guys.
Bye.